Iteration is one of the most important things that you're going to do as a designer to improve. Hey, what's up everyone? So what is iteration? If you watched my previous video about design process, I say you need to start with research, information architecture, wireframing, visual design, prototyping, and then do it all over. Just iterate. And you might have heard this in the startup scene as well. It says keep iterating, keep pushing, keep trying new things. But what really is iteration when it comes to design? What iteration means is you try something for the first time and then you do it all over again. But you don't start from scratch. You take this as the starting base and you change a few things about it, and then you have a second version. You repeat. You try to find some new information that changes the direction, or try changing up one or two things and then you repeat. And you keep doing this till you're closer to a final solution. What iteration means when it comes to your design tool is simply that you never have one artboard, one frame, and you keep changing this. That's not the way to do it. What you do is you create something, you duplicate it, and then you try something else. You duplicate that, try something else. Duplicate that, try something else. And you keep doing this till you reach a solution that you're happy with, that works. How do you know what you need to change between these solutions, right? You need to iterate, you need to keep changing, but what do you change? There's three ways you can decide what direction your iteration should take. One, you just try every single thing that seems like a viable option. Two, look at other apps that are doing similar screens. You can check out the site I run called uisources.com, but there's a lot of other sites as well, like mobbin.design, patterns.com. You can check those out. See other apps, bring them into your design file and try imitating. Try seeing what's working for them and try implementing it in your own design. And the third is getting feedback. This can be talking to users, it can be asking people on your team, or just asking people who you think know something that can be useful to your design. And the point is just that every single new version of it that you do, it needs to be moving towards a final design. Now, design is not some magical process where you're a genius, you go and you come out with a final process. No, you have to start with a shitty version, make it a little better, make it a little better, keep doing this till you have a good thing. That's not just how new designers do it, that's how all designers do it. I do the same thing. It's just that over time, shitty versions that you start with will keep getting a little better. So over time, you start saving time and you start doing things much faster. Your design intuition develops. So in my video about design process, these are the steps that I talked about. You should first do your research, then do the information architecture, then lay down some wireframes, then do the visual design, prototype this, and then repeat. Now, the reason I stress upon these steps, and I think they're important, anything you start with these steps, is not because they're rules that you need to follow, but it's because if you directly jump to, let's say, one of the steps, let's say you directly jump to visual design, and what you do is you just open up Figma and you're like, okay, let's get started. You're gonna find yourself getting stuck. And the reason for this is that there's just so many possibilities, and directly jumping to visual design doesn't let you think through the problem and doesn't let you figure out what direction you should go in. For research, I'm going to go to a few websites. So the first is uisources.com. I run this website. There's a few more. I'll show you each of them right now. So for this, I need to see onboarding. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into a few examples here. I'm going to spend some time just absorbing what other apps do and trying to analyze in my head what's a good approach, why are apps doing certain things, and just get a feel for the problem. The difference between UI sources and the other sites is that UI sources shows you full flows, whereas Mobbin and Pattern show you screens. Each has its own benefits, so I'm just going to use everything that I can. So after spending some time doing this, after taking some screenshots, some references, I'm done with the research phase of the design process. And after a point, when you feel comfortable, move on to the next step, which is information architecture. Now you see me here, I'm sketching this out. And you might ask me, what is the correct format for an information architecture diagram? Because if you can see here, I'm using a fat marker and I'm just scribbling, right? And now, depending on the type of project and depending on the type of designer you are, the information architecture format can vary. You can actually look up online, there's a lot of examples. But for the purpose of this video, I'm trying to keep it very minimal, just to give you an idea of what this step is. And I'm not really covering all the edge cases if you notice here. For example, if the username is already taken, what happens then? I've actually sort of left that out because I'm just doing a very base minimum job. But I want you to think deeply and use this information architecture level to think of all the edge cases, things that you want to account for in the next step of your process, but you don't want to forget it right now. Think about the flow, and this step is about mapping that flow out. Now that you've done this, you want to get into the wireframe. You see I'm drawing them in a custom notebook that I've made. That's okay. You can just sketch this out on paper with rectangles. So what I've done is I'm trying out two variations here. One with tabs, login and sign up, and the other which asks you upfront login and sign up and then takes you to a separate screen which has text fields based on what you clicked on. So I just draw these out. This is now going to be a reference for me to use in the visual design step. From this, I think the option where I first ask you login or sign up makes more sense to me. The reason for this is just that there's lesser option, it progressively reveals the interface to you. So I think this would be a better user experience. Now what you see here is the visual design step. What I'm doing is I'm getting into the first screen, I'm trying out variations and I'm trying to reach to a good design that I'm happy with. At this point, when my visual design step is done, I can either continue doing more visual design or I can choose to iterate. And I can iterate upon just this screen. So just this one single screen alone. How do I know that this is the best design for me? How do I know that this is the perfect design? I need to test this. I need to get some feedback from users. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the research step and I'm going to go ask for feedback from some real users. And the way I do this is I mirror this on my phone and I go show it to people. Now, one of the feedbacks that I got from this was that it doesn't really convey what the app is about. Like, if I didn't read that small tiny text there, I wouldn't find out. I wouldn't get the concept. So to do this, then I went back into my drawing book, into my sketchbook, and I drew out a concept where what if it showed you the amount of money somebody's winning. Now, to tell you what this app is, I just made it up. It's HQ Trivia, but all the people who are playing, it mines cryptocurrencies on their phones, and the winner at the end of it actually gets all of this cryptocurrency. That's the concept of the game. And let's assume we're designing the login and sign up screen for that. So at this point, let's try some more variations now. Now this is something you're going to be doing very, very often in your design tool, which is duplicating artboards and trying new variations. Every single thing has a variation. So this button here, it can be small, it can be big, the text can be different, the size can be different, the color can be different. The background, it could be a photo, gradient, an image. The text, you could change the copy, you could change the style. Your design intuition over time tells you which are the correct directions. But till you develop it, you have to try out multiple directions for every single item. What you're doing is you're breeding, you're creating multiple variations of the same thing, but you're changing small things about it. And when you do this, you start discovering winners. These concepts that look good, not just apply to the design you're working on right now, but you'll remember them for the next design that you do. So for a few seconds now, just enjoy this time lapse. Watch me try out multiple options for different things and try to understand what my thought process was like. if you scroll back, if you look at the rest of your design file, what's happened here is in this process, you've not just made one design, you made about 30 designs. You just practiced designing 30 login screens in just a span of, let's say, an hour or maybe 2 hours, however long it took you. This is really good practice because the next time you're doing this, you're not even going to try the bad option. That's your design intuition. Use this technique for every single thing that you do. Homework for this class is going to be pick a screen, any common screen that is used in a lot of different apps, and try to design 10 variations of it. Force yourself to make 10 different types, even if they're ridiculous ideas that are never going to work. 10 different types. And I want you to post a link to the design file in the comments, just so that you can see what other people are doing. And maybe I'll drop in some feedback. If you're using Figma, I'll drop a comment there. This is going to be useful for you because you can always revisit these designs and you can get an idea of what you tried out and what worked. If this is the first video you're watching, this is a part of a longer design course where I completely cover everything you need to know to learn design as a skill or to get started as a designer at the start of your career. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.